Many of us saw the benefits of having a good neighbor when bad storms hit our area recently. So many of our neighbors came together around those storms in ways that we have not seen for years. We removed fallen trees, we shared electric generators, we text family and friends to check in on them. We really got a snapshot of what a vibrant neighborhood looks like. Since that time, I have learned that some neighborhoods have pulled together to weather the storms of foreclosure and financial crisis. I understand that residents in Detroit, San Francisco, and other parts of the country have come together to keep their neighbors from losing their homes. Some neighbors have even come together to rehab vacant homes on their streets. Others have launched food pantries and backpack drives to keep neighbors in need. What about you and your neighborhood? Are you your neighbor's keeper? How can you create a positive change in your neighborhood? Did you know that the Good Neighborhood Month is September? When I found out, I decided to do a show around being a good neighbor. I hope by the end of this show that you will want to do something to be your neighbor's keeper. I've invited a few guests into the studio to talk about this, and with me is State Senator Joanne Benson, community activist Katie Subeda, and Sharon Gainey Waldo of the Pleasant Entertainment and Community Development Group. I am so glad to have each of you with me today. I am passionate about this because I think that our country, let alone our neighborhoods, are in crisis. But as we lean into what's going on in our country, there are things that we can do right in our neighborhood, but it's going to take each of us. So, first of all, tell me, Senator Benson, let's start with you. Tell me exactly what a good neighbor looks like to you as it relates to a neighborhood.
There is a saying, there's an African proverb that says, a rising tide lifts all ships. A good neighbor is the rising tide. A good neighbor is the person who does not wait for something to happen, but they make things happen.
That's good.
A good neighbor understands the importance of knowing his or her neighbor next door, down the street, on the block, and in the community.
Okay, now, just talking about that a little bit, and I'm coming right to you next, but I was in the hair salon yesterday, and I had a little young girl. She's a high school young lady, and I mentioned to her that we were going to be talking about this, and she says, well, I think that's a good idea. However, what if there's a child molester in my street? How do you navigate around that as it relates to a good neighbor?
I don't think that you should ignore a child molester. There may be points and times and things that you could say, especially as an adult, to this person that will help the person to understand that it is wrong to molest children. We just can't turn them off. I think that we do need to be cautious.
Okay.
But I don't think that we should turn the individual off. We shouldn't ignore the individual.
So what do you guys think about that? I mean, this was a 12th grader who said to me, I'm a little uncomfortable with that. How do you feel about that?
Well, I personally think, the old structures that we used to have where everyone looked out for each other, where everyone was the auntie or the uncle, or the grandma, or,
That's right.
I think this still is a viable way for us to interact. And that means that as the auntie, if I know that so-and-so down the street has a problem, well then I look out for the kids and I engage them in the conversation and say, you don't go to people's houses alone and you don't put yourself in that situation. I may not say to them, this person's a child molester.
Okay, so that's a good idea. That's the Big Mama concept. I grew up with Big Mama.
Yeah.
You come home early from school, you slip away, and somebody is watching.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell your mother.
And that is what the village is all about.
Yeah.
Looking
my
out
God.
for each other in a community.
Absolutely. Today, though, Big Mama is absent.
Yes.
And so this is some of why we're having some of the issues and why I wanted to do the show. So with that said, knowing that Big Mama is not there, and how do we begin to do the work? How do we begin to do the work?
I think what's most important is to know one another and to know that certain things happen in a household. Say, for instance, that this child's parent comes home at 4:30.
Okay.
So if you see activity going on before that time or something that doesn't look proper, then you can still step in, even if you just mention it to the parent later on, if you don't feel comfortable saying it to the children. But I believe that if we know one another, then those children know that Miss Sharon is going to say,
Absolutely.
this is not going on.
Yeah, I
properly.
like that. I like that because that boils down to basically relationships.
Exactly.
In your neighborhood. Now, everybody on this panel is on this panel because you guys are really doing something in your neighborhood. So I want to hear about it. Tell me, Senator Benson, what's going on in a neighborhood that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, you know, inside the Beltway, we have had in Prince George's County, just not inside the Beltway, we have had issues and challenges in our communities. We've had some wonderful things to happen, and we've had some things that were not so wonderful.
Right, we'll talk about
and
those
so
later,
as a
yeah.
result of working in the neighborhoods, in my capacity, I thought it would be very important for us to do what we're talking about today, to bring the neighborhoods together, to bring the civic associations together, to bring the community activists together, to bring the ministers, the educators, the school personnel. And so what we have established is what is called the 202 Coalition. It's a membership that started out with 15 people that had a problem in the neighborhood, and we decided to do something about it.
Okay.
And so what started out with 15 people now has grown to be about 760 people.
Oh, that's
And we meet
awesome.
once a month.
Okay, that's
And the
awesome.
neighbors come together. We have a breakfast, and we talk about the issues that impact
Now,
our
is
neighborhood.
that just one neighborhood?
No,
It's
it's a combination of neighborhoods. And it includes anybody who wants to come, any group that wants to come that has a concern.
Okay, and once a month you come
Once
and talk
a month,
about
we
that
come
thing.
and talk about
That's
the
awesome.
issues that impact our neighborhoods and impact us as people.
Okay, that's awesome. Katie, let me get you in here for a moment. What's going on in your neighborhood?
Well, we have a little bit of the flip side of what Senator Benson has been speaking about. We have a 60-year-old citizens association. And our neighborhood is traditionally lower middle class, kind of blue collar, and it's a very diverse, very mixed neighborhood. So our Citizens Association does a lot of activities, of which the main function is to bring people together so that then they can work on things together. So
So now let me ask,
Yeah.
citizen, is that the same as homeowners? or
No.
Oh, okay.
A homeowners association typically is something you pay dues to, and it maintains the standards.
Okay, okay.
No, a citizens association is a representative body. Anyone can join if they're renters, if they're
Right.
homeowners, whatever.
That really sounds good. We're going to get back to that because I really do. When we come back, let's talk about the challenges that can cause a good neighborhood to go bad. Don't go away.